How's Olga? Good evening, colleagues.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Let yes, let's wait for latecomers. Just 5 minutes. Good evening, colleagues. Once again, I guess we can start. Mm, Let me share my slides. Mm, to So, are you able to see my slides, colleagues?
No.
Oh, not yet.
No.
Oh, I don't know. Okay, it's not shared. Is it shared now?
Yes.
No.
Is it okay? Is it showing?
Yes, it's showing. It's
All
showing.
right. Thanks, colleagues. Let's start just to recap what we have covered on our last session. I think it was 3 weeks back or 2 weeks back. I'm not sure, but let's start. Let's just recap what we've covered last time. So on the first slide was just explaining what is research, because before we can move or step into the methodology, we just have to. I know that we have a session where you discuss this in detail. So before we can move into the methodology and so on, I just wanted to sort of like touch up the groundwork, just to say that what is research and so on and so on. So here the first slide was just explaining what is a research. So the idea is that this is just a prefix whereby we have two words, the re and search. So it means that if you're doing a research, the entire idea is just to search. So if you're doing a research, the main thing is just to search. You search again and again, again and again. So that is the main idea of research. So the research, before you can do any research, it means that you need to have a good literature review. So you need to have a good search. Because when you have a good literature review, it will give you the gaps. What are the gaps in this concept? What are the areas that were not covered in this concept or phenomena or in this topic? So meaning that you have to do lot of search. So that's why they call it the research. You search time and again and again. So you need to up your skills in terms of how to search literatures, how to search information and so on. So to be a good researcher, you need to be a good searcher. So you need to learn or upskill your skills in terms of searching literature, information, and so on and so on, because the research is mainly about searching information. So this is a research. Research is carried in a systematic way. It means that when you do a research, there is a systematic way of doing research. You need to have a title, you need to have an introduction, you need to have a problem statement, you need to have a literature, you need to have a methodology, you need to have a results, discussion, recommendation, and reference. So that is a systematic. So it means that it follows that channel. It's carried in such a way that things are logical, or they have a systematic way of reporting. So meaning that we have the title, the introduction, there's a systematic way of carrying out your research. So meaning that when you do a research, there's a systematic way of reporting or doing your research. Then here the idea is that what is the main idea of doing research? Why are we doing research? Sometimes we just want to reconfirm the results of previous experiments. So meaning that there was a study done maybe in Ghana, there was a study done in Cape Town. You want to do the same study in Limpopo. You want to reconfirm previous experiment, or you want to come up with provide solutions. Maybe there's issue of sustainability in this blah blah supply chain, or in health, or in whatever, in economics or something like that. So you want to provide a solution, or you want to come up with a new ideas or new innovation or new solution. So that's maybe your research idea. The main driving force is that you want to come up with a new idea. Sometimes you want to support theories and so on and so on. So that's what we were trying to cover here. So this is a research cycle. You need to develop through observations or questions, then you develop a research topic. After a research topic, you develop a research questions. Then again, we'll also touch base on the research questions today to say, how do you construct a research question? It might look simple, but there are some key things that you need to consider when you construct a research question. So this is a wheel observation. Maybe you're working in a certain company. Through your observation, you see that there's some issues or problems. You want to solve them. Thereafter, you develop a research topic. From the research topic, you develop a research questions. From the research questions, they will guide you what type of study design you need to use or select. Then thereafter, also it will guide us how to collect the data set. Thereafter, we analyze, then we draw conclusion, then we do recommendation, and so on and so on. So that means it's a research process. So if you change your research title, your research question has to change. Your study design has to change. Data collection has to change. So whenever you change something in this wheel or in this process, it affects the next sort of like section. So if you change the title, make sure that the research questions that are also aligned, they're still aligned with the new research topic. Then thereafter you check the questions, are they aligned with the research design? So they speak to one another. Then again, we spoke about the idea. I said that for me, I feel like research is sort of like it's a car. So the main component in a car, like a distributor, the engine, the fuel, the driver, the map, the wheels, and the chase and the dashboard and so on. So these car components, I link them with what you call research elements. They're sort of like one and the same thing. So when I think of research, I think of sort of like it's a car because it moves us from point A to point B. Even research, it moves us from point A to point B. It moves us from the problem to a solution. Because on your research, you'll have a research problem. That is the problem. We're at point A. The country is at point A. We are sitting with this issue. We are sitting with this problem. The company is sitting with this problem. That is point A. So you are doing this research to move us from point A to point B because you will come up with solutions, you will come up with some frameworks, you'll come up with some solutions, and so on. So, meaning that your research is trying to move us from point A to point B. And the purpose of a car is to move us from point A to point B. So that's why I say that a car and a research, I treat them as like one and the same thing. So this is how we summarized the components, the car components. We said that in a car we have what we call an engine. It's very important. So in terms of research element, we can link engine with what we call methodology. So because it powers the research. So if the engine doesn't sort of like switch on, or then it means that there's a problem. The car won't move. So meaning that an engine, in terms of research, we can link that to a methodology. So meaning that if your methodology is not well designed, that means your research, it won't move. So if there's a problem with the engine, then we won't take a trip. So meaning that if there's a problem with your methodology, the research won't move. So meaning that what I call in terms of the methodology. So research is more like, if in most cases I say that if your research is well defined, you will have less problems. You will have other problems, but if your methodology is well defined, you will have less problems. If the car can switch on, the issue of tires, you can sort that out. But if the car cannot switch on, then it's a problem because you cannot even move. But if the car can switch on, even if there's an issue with GPS and so on, but you can still take a trip. So meaning that the methodology is very, very important or very crucial. So meaning that make sure that your methodology is well written. Then in terms of the other car component, fuel, no fuel, it means that no trip again. So in terms of research element, we can link that to data. If you don't have data set, how will you draw a conclusion? How will you draw the recommendation? If you don't have data set, how will you develop that framework? So what will be the solution? We're sitting with a problem. We're at point A, the company is sitting with this problem. You are saying that I'm doing this research to solve this problem. But if you don't have data set, what will be the recommendation to the company? You won't have any recommendation. So meaning that if there's no fuel, we won't take a trip. So meaning that if we don't have data, there's no research. And data is guided by the methodology. How we collect data, it's sort of like we'll see that within the methodological section. So that's why I'm saying that the methodology is a driving, sort of like it's the main thing in your document. So if there is flaws on your methodology, there's no way that will approve your proposal, or there is no way that will accept your dissertation if there is flaws on your methodology, because it's sort of like it's the engine of everything. So how we'll collect the data, we'll see that within the methodological section. So data, we can link that to fuel. Driver is a researcher. So meaning that in this, when you're conducting the research, you are our driver. So you need to know how to drive. You need to select the right tools, apply them correctly. So that's why we're having these sessions to equip you to say that these are the tools that you can use. You use this if the conditions are like this. So that's why we're having this session to say that now we want to equip you with the right tools, and also tell tell you the assumptions or the condition. When do we apply this method? When do we apply this method or this tool or this tool? What are the conditions? So that you can be a good driver or you can be a good researcher. So if you don't know the tools, that means you cannot drive. You don't have the necessary skills for drivers. So you need to have these skills. You need to know how to write on Word document. Those are the skills that you need to acquire. How to use Excel if you're using quantitative, how to do your data analysis. So we'll equip you with those skills so that you can apply them correctly. Then again, in terms of the GPS or the map, those are sort of like research questions or the research objectives. So today we'll also discuss how you can think in terms of how to conceptualize your research questions, what are the things that you need to consider, and so on and so on. Then the wheels, we can link that in terms of the tools and instrument, the surveys, the questionnaires that you'll be having or developing. So those we can link that in terms of the wheels. So the wheels, it's sort of like it helps us the car to move. It helps us to get that data set. So if we don't have the instrument, we won't be able to get the data set. So that means we need to know how to develop questionnaire tools, or we need to know how to develop the surveys or the questionnaires. Then again, the chase of the body, we can think that in terms of the theoretical frameworks, it supports and shapes the entire structure. So we know that the body of a car is sort of like it support or shape the entire structure of your research. So meaning that the entire body will be that theoretical framework. So some studies, they do have theoretical frameworks. Some studies, they don't have theoretical frameworks. But if you are in humanities, social sciences, and so on, most of the research, you need theoretical framework. So if you're doing a PhD in social sciences, there is no way that you can conduct a research without theoretical framework. So in science, it depend on which field, but in most science field, we don't have these theoretical frameworks and so on. But in social sciences, humanities, education, and so on, so you need to have theoretical framework that serves as sort of like, if we speak in terms of the car component, it will serve as like a car body. Then again, we have dashboard. In terms of research element, we can link that to analysis and interpretation. After getting your data set, you develop a questionnaire, get your data set, then you analyze your data set. So you know that dashboard it helps us to monitor how the journey is going and if you are still on the course. So if you are still on the right track, the dashboard, if there's an issue with an engine, it will show some light on the dashboard. So meaning that it's sort of like it's putting everything together at once and it gives you some alerts. So on your data set, if there are some issues with your data collection tool, when you analyze, you will realize that I'm having missing information. So it gives you some lights to say that your research questionnaire, there were some issues with your research questionnaire. So that means you need to revert back to your wheels or your research instrument, or you need to revert back to your methodology. So it's sort of like a dashboard. It's giving us, it's sort of like monitoring all the processes. Is the engine fine? Fuel, is it fine? You know that if you are running out of fuel, on the dashboard, it will show that tank to say that you need to refill. So meaning that the dashboard is sort of like it gives us some alerts. So when you analyze your data set, it gives you some alerts to say that there's an issue with your methodology. There's an issue with your research instrument, or there's an issue with how we collected our data, or there's an issue, the questions, they don't speak to the research questions. There's no alignment. So meaning that this serves as sort of like it's a dashboard. So in terms of research element, we link that to analysis and interpretation. So normally this is basically falls under chapter 4. So whereby you see if there is anything wrong. So if there's anything wrong, you have to recollect data. If there's anything wrong, you have to change your data instrument and recollect the data, or you have to adjust the methodology and recollect data. Any question, colleagues, regarding what we have covered last time? Don't see there. Any question, colleagues, or anyone who wants to add something? Khafani, any question? Any question, colleagues?
We are good, Doctor. Thank you.
We are good. Yeah, we are good.
Silence. So this online thing. Okay.
We
So
are
now,
here.
No, we are all right, Doctor. We are all right.
all right.
And we are here.
All right, that's good. All right, colleagues. So now let's move into in terms of how do we design research questions. Anyone just to give a tip? I know that some you have your proposal accepted and so on. How do you design a research question or research aim? Anyone just to give us tricks to help us, how do we design a research question? How do I determine this is a good research question or research aim? Colleagues, I know that some of you that are on the last stage did doing data analysis. Some of you they've submitted. Some of you are done defending your proposals. Anyone just to give a tip, how they went in terms of developing a research aim. What are the tricks? Anyone just to quickly share? Colleagues, I know it's Friday, but anyone just to share? There's no problem just to say that my supervisor gave me the aim. That's another way of getting the research aim. Yes, and Tuli?
Hi, Dr. Mpekwan.
Yes.
My thinking it's just that I this whole research, you know, the aim, the questions, it feels like it's a whole lifetime ago. But I'm just thinking that for one to actually come to the aims or even design the research questions, you must know the purpose. What is it that you want to do? What is the aim, or what is the argument?
But before you come to
without the purpose, literally the study is going to be meaningless. So we as readers, we need to understand exactly what would be the purpose of, what the researcher would want to do.
But how do you determine this is a good research aim? Every study has a research aim. How do you know if it's a good research aim? I know the problem. I've observed a problem. I'm working in a company. Maybe sort of like we are running loss in terms of the returns. We're selling maybe beers or cokes, but every month is sort of like, in terms of the profit, we're not getting any profit. It's always a loss. That is a problem. Then how do I determine if this is a good research aim? What will guide me if it's a good research aim or research question? Any strategies or any tricks to double check if this is a good research question or research aim? Or you just write, then you say, no, it's okay. Continue literature review, then it's okay. How do you assess if this is a good research question or research aim?
Can I try, Prof?
Yes.
Doctor?
Yes.
Good evening. This is Sejo.
Yes, good evening.
Yes, I'm a novice researcher. I've just started. Yes, I would like to try.
Yes.
With regard to the research aim, it should be aligned with what you want to research. And it will depend on the research design, whether it's a qualitative or a quantitative research design. It must come directly from what you want to research. Like, for example, if you're saying you want to, with your qualitative study, you want to explore a certain phenomenon. So you have to like take the exact word from your title, from your topic.
So then, for instance, if we're having a problem, okay, for instance, we're having online, students are communicating with lecturers through WhatsApp. We want to check if that is sort of like, it's worth it or it does not worth it. We're having an intervention. Students nowadays are having WhatsApp and they're able to text their lecturers. So we want to check if that is positive, or is it something that it's worth promoting, or should we just sort of like close it? Or we have a WhatsApp, students, they can communicate with lecturers through WhatsApp. So that's where we are sitting. So we want to make a decision as a university to say that, should we promote this or not? Then in that case, what will be our research aim, or what will be our research question? Housing Tuli?
Dr. My thinking again is that I think it's also in support of what Sejo said. One would need to identify the problem. So for example, with the problem, we understand that, there's a lot of communication via WhatsApp, but we don't know whether is it an effective tool to use. So for us to be able to get the aim or even the research questions, we need to ask ourselves whether, is it what is it that we want to achieve? So is it more of we want to identify a certain maybe time frames or time durations that this the WhatsApp communication is being used? So we need to be guided by certain Sure, it's Friday. English is running away. My data is depleted.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, but we need to state the problem, and then from the problem, we need to, ask certain questions instead in terms of how we will be able to address the problem. Yeah, for me, for now, let me park there before I get muted by the depleted data. Thank you.
No, thanks, Alcinto. So we can just go back a few slides. This one, it says, what is research? If you look at the bullet number 2, it says that this implies that research is utilized to investigate the facts, reconfirm the results of previous experiment, provide solutions for existing or new issues, support theories. So when you think of your research, you need to see where does your research fit in there. Is it sort of like investigating facts? Do you want to reconfirm? Do you want to bring new solution? Do you want to support theories? So once you know what is your contribution, then it's gonna make your life very easy to draft a research aim or research questions. But if you can't determine where is your contribution, then it becomes very challenging. Even your research aim, it won't be sort of, it will be like, yeah, we hear it, but we don't see where is the contribution. So remember, when you do your research, we need to see your contribution. So before you can start doing your research, you need to think, is this one to reconfirm? Do you want to provide a solution? Support theories. Also this, it will guide you what kind of literature review that need to be included in your study. We can have same research problem, but have different contribution. You want to investigate facts, but in my idea, I want to bring a solution. So my literature review, it will totally differ with your literature review, because yours, it will be more about the facts. Then my literature review, it will be more about what is the existing solutions and where are the gaps, so that I show that there is a gap and this is what I want to close. That's why I'm doing this research. So firstly, you need to see where does your research contribute. Investigate facts, confirm, provide solution, support theories. So once you know that, then here it becomes very simple. So when you write your research, you'll say that the aim of my research, the aim of your research is either you want to explore. The aim of your research is either you want to explain why things are like this. The aim of your research, you want to develop. Develop, it means that you are bringing a solution. The aim of your research, you want to describe why things are like this, why the economy is so bad. Then maybe you can discuss the policies, the new policies and so on, unemployment and so on and so on. You want to describe why the economy is so bad. So you need to figure out, is your research trying to explore? Or is your research trying to explain? Or is your research trying to develop? Or are you trying to describe? So once you know that my research is sort of like exploring, then you say the aim of my research is to explore blah, 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 blah. If it's explained, the aim of my research is to explain blah, blah, blah. The aim of my research is to develop a blah, blah, blah. The aim of my research is to describe why we're having so high divorce rate. You want to describe why we're having so high divorce rate. So you need to see, these are the 4 important components that guides you. how you should structure your research aim. So for instance, example 1, it says that we want to explore the communication patterns that emerge when lecturers and students communicate via WhatsApp. So we want to explore the communication pattern. We don't know the pattern, but we are doing this study to explore the communication pattern. What is the communication pattern between the lecturers and the students? When do they communicate? For how long? How do they communicate? We don't know those patterns. So that's why we're doing this study. There's no study that was being conducted to explore the patterns of communication on WhatsApp between lecturers and students. So this study, we are doing this study to explore the patterns. So we know that in this study, at the end of this study, we'll be able to see the patterns that are being used by the lecturers and students to communicate via WhatsApp. So you see that the main idea of this research was to explore those patterns. And then we can say that if, for instance, if our research is more about explaining, then we can say that we want to explain students and lecturers use of WhatsApp for teaching and learning. So we want to explain. We know that this is happening, sort of like they are communicating on WhatsApp for teaching and learning. So, but now we want to explain the use of WhatsApp for teaching and learning. It's happening, but now we want to explain. The entire research is explaining. We know that it's there, it's happening, but we want to explain the use of WhatsApp for teaching and learning. We want to explain, is it good, is it bad, blah, blah, what are the consequences, what are the pros, and so on and so on. We want to explain the consequences. We want to explain the benefits of using this WhatsApp for teaching and learning. So meaning that the main idea of our research aim is to explain. Then we might come up with a research question whereby we want to develop. So here we want to develop a strategy for emergency remote teaching using WhatsApp. So now we want to come up with a strategy, or we want to develop a model. How should we use WhatsApp for emergency remote teaching using this WhatsApp platform? Remember, we have WhatsApp, we communicate with lecturer and so on, but you may find that there's no sort of like a framework or SOP to say that these are the processes, or this is when we're supposed to use this emergency remote teaching using WhatsApp. So we don't have a strategy. We're using it, but we don't have like sort of like guidelines. So maybe you want to carry out this study to develop that, to say that this is how we use WhatsApp in terms of emergency remote teaching. This is how we have to use it. These are the processes. You have to do this first, or we have to do this. These are the do's, these are the don't. So you develop sort of like a framework that we need to follow in terms of when we want to do a emergency remote teaching using the WhatsApp. So you are developing a framework, or you're developing a theory, something like that. Or sometimes you might want to describe. So you want to describe the types of messages that occur in typical WhatsApp-based classes. What are the messages? Do they send funny things? So you want to describe. We are having a WhatsApp, it's working, we are using it for teaching and learning. Then you want to describe the types of messages. What kind of information is being sent on that platform? Is it formal? Is it informal? What kind? Is it sort of like learning? Is it related to teaching and learning, or it's outside? What types of messages you want to describe? So remember here, the whole idea or the main research topic, it was mainly on WhatsApp lecturers and students. It all depends on how you are viewing the problem. You might viewing in that fashion whereby you want to explore the patterns. Someone might want to explain. Someone might want to develop. Someone might want to describe. But the whole idea is that WhatsApp as a form of teaching and learning. So it depends how you want to view the problem. Explore, explain, develop, or describe. So whenever you develop your research question or research aim, it's either it has to explore, or it has to explain, or it has to develop, or it has to describe. So once you know that, it also channels how you should structure your literature review. So my literature review, if I'm developing and someone is describing, our literature review, it will totally be different. Because under describing my literature review, it should be more about what kind of messages, the prawns, the rules, and blah, 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 blah. Developing a strategy is more like what is already there and what are the gaps. Maybe there's something that was developed for maybe what do you call, maybe for the what are we using now, platform, is it Teams or something like that. Maybe there's a model that was developed for Teams to say that, can we use Teams for remote teaching? Maybe there was a model that was developed. Then you want to use that model, you want to extend it to sort of like to be applied when we use WhatsApp for teaching and learning. So you want to sort of like, you can use the existing model, modify the model, then sort of like modify the model, link it to WhatsApp. Maybe it was meant for Teams, then you make sure that it speaks to WhatsApp. So that means under your literature review, you will be telling us about the existing models that are there for remote teaching and learning. Then you show us the gaps to say that there's none that was sort of like developed for WhatsApp. So in this study, we want to develop something that speaks to a WhatsApp, so, or maybe using a WhatsApp platform as sort of like teaching and learning. So there's something on Teams, there's something on this OneNote, there's something on Blackboard, but there's nothing on WhatsApp. So the study is here to develop that model or framework. Any question, colleagues? Any question regarding this? Explain, explore, develop, describe. So if you don't have a question, maybe I'll pose mine. Any question, colleagues, regarding explore, explain, develop, describe? Colleagues, are you there?
We are here, Doctor. We are here.
No question.
No question so far.
Yes. So now I have a question for you guys to say that you are developing a research. Is it possible in one research to have explore, explain, and develop, or have two? Is it possible? Yes, Aaron.
Yes, doctor. I believe it is possible to explore and then explain, especially in a mixed method kind of a research, wherein in the first phase, one explores the problem, and then after exploring the problem in a qualitative phase, then the results, I mean the findings of the qualitative phase informs the formation of a particular survey questionnaire that can be used to expand, that can be used to explain the findings of the qualitative in the quantitative phase. The main aim being to expand between the two methods. Yes, I believe one can explore and then thereafter explain in a way to expand the findings of the first phase. Thank you.
So, but can you sort of like advocate for that if you're doing a master's?
At master's level, one will only advise that if you go for qualitative, the best that one can do is to explore, being the main aim. You might be exploring the lived condition, lived experiences of the phenomena, of the people upon the phenomena, alone from the beginning to the end as your main aim. Thank you.
All right. Anyone, is it Mashilu or something? So, and was it Mashilu?
Good evening.
Yes, Mashilu.
Yes. I just want to get clarity to the difference, the difference.
The difference between?
Thank you.
Mashilu, you were breaking the difference between what?
Explain and describe.
Oh, I see. All right. Anyone, colleagues, just to explain the difference between explore and describe? Maybe someone can come up with a better explanation. Who are learning from one another, colleagues. Let's engage, share ideas, share knowledge. I'm also learning. What is the difference between explore and describe, colleagues? I know that some of our colleagues are at advanced stage of their research, so they will be able to explain, to give the difference between the two. Anyone to explain the difference?
Sorry, Doc, it's
colleagues?
not explore, explain and describe.
All right. Explain and describe, colleagues. What's the difference? People from languages, people from social sciences, explain and describe. What is the difference between the two? Anyone to give a try, colleagues?
Hi,
Yes,
good afternoon. Good afternoon, colleagues. Yes.
Yes.
Looking at explaining and describing, they are very similar. However, if I recall from, when we look at the Queen's language, when you are describing, you are aiming to answer the, what do they call it? The when, why, how, what, and who. Whereas with explaining, it can just be, why are you here? Explain why are you here? Whereas with describing, it's much more broader. And in most cases, you have to be addressing, what is WhatsApp? When is WhatsApp used? Where do you use it? Whereas explaining will just stick to one of the, I can't remember whether did we call it the 5 horsemen or something. Yeah, something like that. But yeah, the W's and the H, the 4 W's and the H. That's when you describe, and then explain, you are just sticking to 1 or 2 concepts. That's how I was taught.
I think that's correct. Anyone just to add, colleagues? Explain, describe. Yes, Madi.
Good evening, colleagues.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, I think yes, the latter speaker was correct. But then I can add by saying, with describe is about features. You can describe the length, the width, and which means it is talking about, description is about different features, color, and the like. So, but explain is just explaining, but you may not even go to those details of features. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone to add, colleagues? Yeah, we can see that the examples, yes, in Ngelazi, I think I pronounced it correctly. Apologies if I didn't. Ngelazi?
Oh, sorry for that. Good evening, Doc. Good evening, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Well, the surname was pronounced correctly. I think,
Alright, thanks.
yes, I agree with the earlier speakers. Describe focuses mainly on the features, the characteristics. For instance, like what the earlier speaker said, it focuses on the adjectives. For instance, is tall, is thin, is big, something like that. Those are the characteristics of something. But then when you are explaining, you go further. For instance, you now say he is tall and his height enables him to do 1, 2, 3. So you're now explaining, you are providing much more detail than just describing. Thank you very much for the opportunity. That's my take.
Thanks, colleagues. Yes, I agree with everyone. We can even see the examples there. You're describing the types, the features, the types of the messages, sort of like characteristics, the features, and so on. Describe the types of messages. Then explain. We are explaining the use of WhatsApp. We are explaining the use. We know that they use it, but we want to explain more further. So while they describe, you are describing the types or the features or the characteristics or types of messages and so on. So the explaining, we are explaining why are they using this WhatsApp for teaching and learning. But describe it's more like sort of like how are they using it? That side will be why are they using WhatsApp? Then describe will be how are they using it? So we're describing the features and the characteristics. So it links with the hows, it links with the what, the why, when, how, where, who. So we'll explain that. I think that it's our next slides. So we can see that we still have the same thing. Your research aim is either as you want to explore, explain, develop, or describe. So normally we link this with what we call the honest saving man. So the honest saving men, their names are what, why, when, how, where, who. Remember, if you think about these questions, what, why, when, how, where, who. If I can ask you these questions, I will have all the information that I need to know. If I can know what is it? Why is it happening? When did it happen? How did it happen? Where? Who? If I can have answers to what, why, when, how, where, who, then probably I have all the information that I need. So that's why we link these 6 honest saving men with those explore, explain, develop, and describe. Again, the explore, the explain, the develop, and describe. You can sort of like paraphrase this using why, what, when, how, where, who. Can we give it a try just to paraphrase this using the what, why, when, how, where, who? We can paraphrase these research questions using the what, why, when, how, where, who. Can we give it a try, colleagues? And see if it's possible. Maybe it's possible or maybe it's not possible. People from languages, linguistics, I think here they need to lead us if it's possible. Is it possible to paraphrase this using these 6 honest serving men? Is it possible, colleagues, to paraphrase this? We use these 6 serving men. Yes, Ntuli?
Yes, Dr. Mpekwane, it is possible. For example, like I'm just looking at the first one, exploring, paraphrasing it and using the 6 honest men. One can say, what are the communication patterns that emerge when lecturers and students communicate via WhatsApp? That's
Yes,
just
so
an example. So
you
yes, it
see
is.
that the word fits very well there.
Yes.
Yes, I agree. Any other suggestion, colleagues? So you can see that from your research objectives. Remember, under your research, you have the research objective and you have research questions. You see, converting this from research objectives into research questions. If you know this honest saving man, and you know your study fits explore, blah, 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 it's easy to change this or tweak this into research questions. Remember, under your research objective, there comes research questions. So you can also think of using this what, why, when, how, where, blah, blah, blah. Then you sort of like paraphrase your research objectives, then put them in a sort of like research questions. Yes, I saw that it's Ndatemadi. Ndatemadi. Or anyone, colleagues who want to give
Okay,
a try.
I was muted. I was muted, Doc. I'm back.
Yes.
Yes, I was thinking of paraphrasing the one for explain, but I want to say to explain how students and lecturers use WhatsApp for teaching and learning, which means explain and how are moving together now.
So you are
explain-
replacing the explain by how?
No, they are the two of them are there.
No. We want replacement.
Oh, you want
bolded
no?
ones we
It
need
is still the I still can replace explain with how. I can say how do students and lecturers use WhatsApp for teaching and learning.
Or then
Which
we
means
use
I'm saying explain can be replaced by how.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yes.
Yes. Any alternative for number 2? Dr. Madi says how students and lecturers use of WhatsApp for teaching and learning. Is it okay, guys? Do we agree? The how, explain the how, replace the explain by how. So you see that when you start putting the how, then this becomes a research question. It's no longer research objectives, because research objectives is that the aim of the study or the objective of the study is to explain students, lecturers' use of WhatsApp for teaching. That is a research objectives. Then if you want to convert this into research questions, then you can say that how students and lecturers use of WhatsApp for teaching and learning. That will be a research question. Remember, in your protocol or in your proposal, you have research objectives and research questions. Research questions, they speak to research objectives. It's just paraphrasing, making that as a question. So the explain, you can, if your objective for research aim was explain, you can replace that by how. Then number 3, colleagues, anyone to give a try? How can we substitute that develop? Which will be the right terminology to use if we want to substitute that develop? Anyone to give a try, colleagues? Yes, new name Karimi.
Yes, Doctor, I just want to add there that when you are developing a strategy, it could be that a strategy is already there, but you are trying to make an improvement or a way of perfecting that kind of strategy. So by developing already, there is a framework which is already there, but you are trying to improve. That's how I take it.
No, but now if you want to replace that, develop with this 6 honest saving men. Which men can we select? What, why, when, how, where, who?
I think it will be who, maybe.
Colleagues, do we agree? Who a strategy? Who a strategy for emergency doesn't fit well. Tate Madi? Tate Madi?
Thank you, Doc. I'm trying again. I think what because he mentioned already to say the strategy is already there. What needs to be done is to make some amendments. So I think the what question will work because it will be checking what need to be improved or what need to be removed on the strategy. So I think the what question, the question related to what will work, though I cannot put it in the proper English, but it will be replaced by what?
And replaced by what?
Yes.
Okay, they say what, there is who. Any other suggestion, colleagues? Do we have linguistic people here to help us? People from languages, people from education, languages, people from humanities, social sciences. Number one, it was clear to say what communication patterns. Number two, it was clear. It was sort of like explain will be how. We can put the how. Then the third question, it says develop. Then if you want to replace that with six honest saving men, what would be the right term there? How, where, who, what, why, when? The suggestion is who and what. Ngelazi?
Thank you. I was wondering if we could use how. Maybe we could phrase the question as how can WhatsApp being used for emergency remote teaching?
But how can we say how? Because the research is to develop. So how can we ask a question about how while we're developing a new thing? We need a car, we're developing a car. So can you say how do we?
All right. So in that case, then that would obviously be what? What strategy can be used?
What strategy? It means that the strategy we want to know. What is that strategy? We're not developing. we're just saying what strategy it means that we want to explore. What are the strategies that are out there? Then we'll just describe those strategies. Then that's it. But the study now is to develop.
All right. Now the question is, are we developing a new strategy or we're improving the one that exists already?
Remember, even improving is developing. Remember, yes, if you develop sort of like a phone without a sort of like a screen protector, I develop a phone that comes with a screen protector as a default. It's a new thing. It's a new thing because your phone was not having a screen protector as a default. I developed the same phone, but in terms of the features, the screen protector comes as a default. There's no need to buy screen protector differently and buy phone differently. So you just buy one thing at once. With it, it has everything: screen protector and the phone at once. So it's a new thing. I've used your idea, but I've sort of like amended your idea or sort of like added something on your idea. Then it makes it a new thing. I've developed a new thing. Okay, it's fine. Then let's move to the last one.
Dr.
Describe.
Mpekwane, I'd like to give it a shot.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure, but when somehow resonates with me, when can when can when can a strategy for emergency remote teaching using WhatsApp? Ish, yeah,
Yes,
my confidence.
I tend to agree with you, Ausintuli. I think you have done this. Maybe you are coming from language.
No.
But there you can paraphrase that using when.
Yes, because I'm thinking when can a strategy for emergency remote teaching be used during WhatsApp or teaching using WhatsApp? But yeah,
Yes,
somehow
with development, it's sort of like it's in most cases it gels well with why and when. It depends on the context, but it gels well with why and when. When do we develop the strategy? And so it's sort of like this when and why, they speaks mostly with the develop.
Correct, true.
Yes.
And then the last one, I don't know if I can be able to give it a shot as well.
Yes.
The last one, somehow what resonates with me. So what types of messages that occur in typical WhatsApp-based classes? What types of messages?
Yes. Any other suggestion, colleagues, with the last one? Yes, Aaron.
I'm just giving it a try, Doc.
Yes.
Just what? I'm standing on what? What strategies can educators or teachers employ to effectively implement emergency remote teaching using WhatsApp? Thank you.
Yes, that's also correct. With the describe, it mostly gels well with what and when. What and when. So this brings us to our next slides, which summarizes everything. So when you sort of like conceptualize your research question or research aim, this is the matrix. So remember, what is an abstract concept? If you are saying you are having an abstract concept, what are we referring to? If you are saying whatever you are saying, it's an abstract, what does it really mean? Not research abstract. If we are saying your idea is abstract, what do we mean? If someone says this is an abstract or your idea is an abstract, what are they referring to?
That concept is just an idea. It doesn't exist in physical form, if I can put it. It's not tangible.
Yes. So when we say that something is abstract, so normally it's something that is it's something that you cannot directly observe, or it's something that you cannot directly measure. And in most cases, these ideas are broad, these ideas are theoretical. and they are still open for interpretation. And they also need a clear definition. So when you construct your research A, sometimes we say that your research is sort of like it's an abstract concept. It's not observable, it's not measurable. So if it's not measurable or observable, in most cases, we can convert those abstract questions using what? So we can think about this question to say, what are the communication patterns? So you can say, what are the communication patterns? You see, we still need some definition. What is communication pattern? Like, it's theoretical. What are you referring in terms of patterns? Are you referring to sort of like how frequent does students respond on the WhatsApp? Or what? What are you referring when you say patterns, communication patterns? Communication patterns, are you referring to sort of like how often does the lecturer communicate with the students on WhatsApp? What are you referring to in terms of communication patterns? So those we refer them as abstract concepts. So abstract concepts, the questions can be rephrased using what? So what, then we say that those are abstract concepts. So under the abstract concepts, it has two wings. It's either you explore or describe. So you can combine the what and the how. If you are doing an explore, it's either you can ask a question, you can rephrase that question using a what, or you can rephrase that question using a how. Let's look at the previous example, the explore. You can say, what are the communication patterns? Then we can also have the what, the how. How is the communication patterns emerge when lecturers and blah, blah. So you can rephrase this using a how. You can rephrase this again using a what. So meaning that under the explore, there is a combination or there's an intersection between what and how. So the what speaks to the abstract concepts. The how it speaks to, it depends on something. So when these two are sort of like intersecting, the abstract and the dependence, then you can ask your research questions in terms of what and how. So that's why in research, in most cases, we have two research objectives. Why do we have two research objectives? Why not have one research objectives in a research? Colleagues, why are we not having one research objectives in a research? In most cases, the minimum is two. Why two? Why not one? Any idea? If you're doing a research, why don't you have one research objective? In most cases, minimum is two. Why two? Why not one? Colleagues, you have research objectives, you have research aim. How many research objectives do we have? Why are we having that numbers? Why are you having two? Why are you having three? Why not one? Yes, Ausintuli.
Personally, for me, Dr. Mpekwane, one is not going to answer what I intend to you know, yeah, for the research to answer my questions. So just one activity, it's not going to be enough. For example, with my proposal that was accepted, I had 4 questions. I mean, sorry, objectives. Because some of the reason was like if I was just going to stick to one objective, it wasn't going to be enough because some of the concepts might not be concrete enough. So for me to get a thorough, there's the data, it's getting depleted. For me to get a thorough understanding and being able to explore my research, I need more like a 360-degree view. So I want to be able to evaluate. I want to be able to assess. I want to be able to, identify. So all of those things, they actually the metrics that you have here, it addresses all of those. That's why one, it's never going to be enough.
Is it PhD or master's?
I beg your pardon, it's master's, doctor.
Yeah, you know what? In most cases, we sort of like when we draw our proposals, we sort of like have high expectations. In masters, to be honest, 2 research objectives is enough. Because your research is either you explore, describe, explain, or develop. In masters, you cannot have explore and describe. It's either you explore, that is enough for masters, or it's either you describe, that is enough for masters. It's either you explain, that is enough for masters. For PhD, that's where you start tapping into development, because development, it takes time. So in PhD, that's where you start combining, you explore, explain, and develop. Because you want novelty. You want to sort of like contribute something. So maybe you're contributing the knowledge in terms of developing a model or a framework or a strategy. So in PhD, you will end up having sort of like tapping into 3 ideas there: explore, explain, develop. But for masters, you have to stick to one. It's either you explore, you describe, you explain. Because the main idea of masters is just to introduce you into research. So the 2 years, it's enough to explore or describe or explain. So you just have to select one. So the idea, how do we conceptualize the research objectives? My idea is that you have, for instance, if your study is on explore, if we cut that explore, because it's sort of like it's a rectangle. If we cut that rectangle in the middle, we'll have 2 triangles. Having 2 triangles, that triangle is made of what and how for explore. That means you will have 1 research objectives that address the what. Then you will have another research objective that address how. Because your research is more on explore. The explore is a combination of what and how. So meaning that it allows you to have 2 good research objectives. You might have 10 research objectives, but the question is that, are they good? If you want to say how many females, is it good enough to put it as a research objective? No, it's not good enough. By default, you will have to describe how many females in the study. It's not good enough to put it as a research objectives. By default, you'll have to tell us how many females, how many blah, blah. That by default, you'll have to do that. So, but to have good research objectives, my idea is that if your research is more on explore, have 2 research objectives that captures the what and captures the how. Then you have 2 good research objectives. Other ones you can do it, but they're not the main research objectives. You will do it, yes, we know, but they are not the main. Then, if your research is all about describing is a combination of an abstract and the yes or no. Describing, you know that normally is the quantitative. How many are doing this and blah, blah, blah. Then, if your study is more about describing, in order to have 2 good research objectives, You combine research objective that links to what and when. What and when. So you draft a research objectives using the what, you draft another research objective using when. Then you are good to go to capture the describe, because your research is more about describing a certain phenomena, why people are doing this. So if we look at the previous example, they describe the types of messages. You can have a question to say, what types of messages? You see, the what is there. You can say that, when do blah, blah, blah messages that occur, when do this type of messages happen? Is it at night, during the day, blah, blah, blah? When do this happen? This kind of messages, these types of messages. When do they happen? At night, during the day, in the morning, or what? You see that you can have two nice research objectives. The what types of messages? That is the first objective. Second objective, when do this happen? Is it at night? Having these funny messages in the WhatsApp groups. When do this happen? At night, during the day, in the morning. So you see that you have two good research objectives. Then same applies to the explain. The explain is the combination of how and why. So we do have what you call a concrete rule. Concrete rule is sort of like it's sort of like you turn the fuzzy ideas into a clear questions. Your questions are very concrete. So for instance, if you want to bake a cake, you will say, what is the ingredients? That is a concrete rule to say that you will need a flour, you will need blah, blah, so many ramas, so many salt, spoons of salt, and so on. That is a concrete rule. So for example, if you ask a question to say that, does social media affect people? If your research question says, does social media affect people? Is that concrete question? Does social media affect people? Is it a fuzzy question or a clear question? Colleagues, or should I put it on the chat? Does social media affect people?
It's not a clear question.
Yeah, it sounds a bit fuzzy.
Yes. So it's sort of like an abstract sort of kind of thing. It's not clear. So if your question or research question is clear, so for instance, you can paraphrase that to say that, does scrolling Instagram for 2 hours daily lowers teens' sleep quality? Now the question is clear. Does scrolling Instagram for 2 hours daily lowers teenagers' sleep quality? So you see now your question now is clear. You are asking, you saying that if you spend more than 2 hours on Instagram, does it somehow lower your sleep quality? Now the question is clear. But if you say, does social media affect people? The question is fuzzy. It's not clear. So if your question is very clear, then we call that a concrete rule. A concrete rule, you can rephrase that question using why. You can say, why does scrolling Instagram for 2 hours daily lower your sleep quality? Why? Then you want to understand why. Why is that happening? So the concrete rule, in most cases, it taps into explain and develop. So if you are on the other side, you are on the explain side. Explain side, if your research you want to explain, then you can combine how and why. How and why. Then if you want to develop, then you can combine why and when. When should we apply this method? Why is this method not working? Why the previous method are not working? Why the previous framework are not working? When should we apply, or when should we develop, or when should we apply our developed model? So if you are developing your research questions, they will mostly speak to why and when. So I always advocate to say that research, if you are tapping into one aspect here, explore, describe, explain, and develop, you can only have two good research objectives, combining the when, why, how, and what, depending if you want to explore, describe, explain, or develop. So you can revert back to your research aim, then try to figure out if your research is mainly exploring, or your research is describe, or your research is explain or develop. If it's explore, try to sort of like phrase your research objectives using what and how. Then if it's describe, try to rephrase your research objectives using what and when. If it's explaining, try to use how and why. Then if you are developing, doing your PhD, think along the lines of why and when. Is it clear, colleagues? Any question regarding conceptualizing your research objectives and research aim and research questions? Is it clear, Ausin Tuli? I know
100% clear.
I know your research proposal has been accepted, but I'm 100% sure that if we zoom into your objectives, you'll find that two are very important.
Okay. Mine is slightly after intense consultation, we opted for that because I'm doing a tracer study, and it's also a mixed method. So to really go deeper, yes, I had to expand a little bit.
So if you're doing a mixed method, it's either you're combining explore, describe, or explore, explain, explain. So if you explore and explain, then you will have 4 concrete research objectives. Because
Yes.
exploit will have 2, explain it will have 2.
Yes.
And if you're combining explain and describe, explode will have 2, describe will have 2. And then at the end, you will have 4 research objectives. So, but it all depends with fields. But I mostly think for masters, only one component there, it's okay. It's either you explore, your research is more on explore, then you will have 2 research objectives. Then if you are doing a PhD, then you can start trying to combine.
The research itself, it's still expandable, Doctor. So probably chances I'm still going to continue and expand it further. Yes.
Yeah, I agree with you. But what I'm saying is that for my advice, I will say that masters, I will not recommend a student to do a mixed method. I will recommend them just to focus on one method for simplicity, because the idea is just to introduce to a research and there's limited time. Then on PhD, then that's where we can think of doing the mixed method. But it all depends in terms of different supervisors, different ideology, and depending on the research.
I hear you, Doctor. No, thank you so much for your input.
Any question, colleagues, regarding this structure, the matrix? So those ones who are on their proposal level, maybe they've drafted the first draft. If you don't mind, maybe next week you can just share how you have applied the matrix in terms of conceptualizing your research aim and the research objectives. Then you can get inputs from our colleagues, nice colleagues here, to improve your research questions and research objectives. So if you feel like you want to share, you can prepare 2 slides using this matrix, then you explain your research, then try to explain how you came in terms of developing your research objectives, then you get the inputs. So if you want to share with us next week, you can just speak to House Olga. Then we'll just give you a 5 minutes platform to share your ideas and so on. Then if there are no questions, colleagues, we can move into this. So meaning that they explain, they explore. So that's why I'm saying that from this, under the explore, you can have 2 nice research objectives using the what, the how. Then under the explain, if your study is more about explaining something, why something is like that, then you can have the how and the why. Your questions can be phrased in such a way that they can start with how, or they can have how does this blah blah blah. Then if you are developing, then you can sort of like your objectives can be structured in such a way that they start with why and when. Then if you are describing, then you can look at in terms of the when and what. What is the effect size? What is blah blah? What is this? How many something like that. Then you can say that you are describing, then developing. It means that it falls into 2 aspects, the concrete and the when or the yes or no thing. Then it's describe, when, and what. Then here, so here we can, these were the previous examples. So if you want to convert that, our previous examples, the explore, you can say that what types of messages. Then your another research objectives, you can say, how do these messages facilitate teaching and learning? Then for the explain, we can say, how do students and lecturers message facilitate teaching and learning? Or we can say, why do some uses work better than others? Why do some uses work better than others? Tautology there. I think it need to be rephrased very well. It's not well rephrased for me. Doesn't read well. Then under the development, then we can say, why do some uses work better than others? Yeah, in terms of the WhatsApp and so on. Then we can say when do WhatsApp messages lead to optimal remote learning and so on. In terms of describe, you can say when do WhatsApp messages lead to optimal remote learning? Then the what, it can say what level of success has been achieved in its circumstances. So you can rephrase these questions using the when, the what, the why, when, how, why, what, and how, as long as you know that where does your research contribute. Is it exploring? Is it explaining? Is it developing? Or is it describing? If you are doing a mixed method, you will tap into 2 sections. It's either explore or explain, or explore or develop, or describe and explore, something like that. If you are doing mixed method, you will tap into 2. But if you are just doing a pure straight method like quali or quanti, then you will have to select one. If you are doing a quanti, in most cases we describe. If you are doing quali, in most cases you will like to explore. Then all your study you just want to develop. But mixed method, you will have to tap into 2. Then just to summarize is that you want to, when you're doing your research, is either you want to confirm the existing knowledge or you want to refute the existing knowledge. Refute it means that you want to, so that it's a contradiction. Through your observations, they are saying that this is happening, this is the reason behind. But through your observation, that's not what you are observing. So you want to refute the existing knowledge. You are doing this study to refute the existing knowledge. You are doing this study to update the existing knowledge. So it means that there have been studies saying that there is HIV interventions or programs for the past 10 years. So there is no study that have later on checked what is the prevalence of HIV. So you say that there have been some interventions, So I want to update the existing knowledge to say that after these 10 years interventions, where are we sitting in terms of the prevalence? So you are doing a study to update the existing knowledge or to upgrade the existing knowledge. Upgrading the existing knowledge, you find that there's a study, they have discovered that they have explored and they figured out that there's a problem here. That their study was just to explore. And after exploring, they've realized that there's a problem here. Then you want to conduct a study to upgrade, to come up with a solution. You want to develop, come up with a solution. So you are upgrading the existing knowledge. They've stopped at stage number 2. You want to take this to stage number 3. So you're upgrading the existing knowledge. So when you write your literature review, you will say that studies done by Sibani, they have developed this nice model, but it was never applied anywhere. So in this study, we want to apply this and see if it's working or not. So you see that they've developed this, but it was never applied. So in your study, you want to apply it. So it means that under your literature review, you will tell us about to say, Mpehwane have developed this, but it was too theoretical. It was never applied. So in this study, you see that your literature, it will say much about what I've developed. Then under your problem statement, you say that this was never been applied. So in this study, we want to apply it and see if it's working or not. So now we can see why you are doing this research. You are upgrading the existing knowledge, or you want to confirm. So whenever you think of your research, you have to decide, is it confirming, refuting, updating, or upgrading? Then these are some of the anatomies of great research questions. So your question, research question, it has to be visible, interesting, and we need to see novel. Your research has to bring novelty. And again, it has to be ethical. Your research, it has to be relevant. Because if you are doing a research and I pose a question, whatever you're doing, does it matter? Some people, they get offended, even professors, they get offended. When they present, we ask them, does it matter? Is it important? Is it a problem? If you say that the prevalence, the mortality rate among these with having this disease is 3%, then you are saying you want to investigate why people are dying because of this disease, but the prevalence is 3%. The question will be like, does it matter? 3%, is it a problem? Then that's why we say, whatever your research question, is it relevant? Is it ethical? Can it be conducted ethically? Is there any novelty? Does it contribute something new? Your research, does it contribute something new? You need to ask yourself this kind of questions about your research. Is there any novelty? Is it interesting? You're doing research, but is it interesting? Then again, feasible. Will you be able to manage? If they're saying masters is 2 years, if you are doing a mixed method, within the 2 years, will you be able to answer that research question? Is it feasible? When we construct our proposals, we tend to be sort of like have high expectations and forget about the time. Remember, we're doing this to get a degree. And you are sort of like provided, given 2 years or 3 years. So whatever you are deciding, is it feasible? Will you be able to manage that within that time frame? If it's doable, then that's fine. Is it interesting? Is there a novelty? Ethical? Is it relevant? So normally to assess your research questions, we use what you call FINA. FINA, it's F, visible. Is it interesting? Something, is there something new? Is it ethical? Will it be ethical in terms of collecting data? Relevant? Does it matter? Is it sort of like relevant to scientific knowledge? Is it relevant to practice? Is it relevant to policy? Is it relevant to a specific community? Where is the relevancy of your research? Is it knowledge, practice, policy, specific community? So these are the kind of questions you need to ask yourself about your research. Then again, assessing your questions, you can use what you call PICO framework. PICO framework, it says that who is your target participant? Patient, population, or problem? What are your characteristics of your participant? What is the condition? So using a PICO, it means that it sort of like speaks to the methodology. Who are your participant? Intervention or exposure. What do you want to do with this patient? What do you want to do with this participant? Comparison. What is the alternative to the intervention? So whatever you are doing, the comparison, do you want to compare males and females? Do you want to compare sort of like different groups? Then what is the outcome? What are the relevant outcomes? If you are having an intervention or you are giving them a program, do you want to change the sales? Do you want to increase the sales in that company? So what will be the outcome? If you give them this intervention or you give them this training, what is your expected outcome? So you need to ask yourself, who are you targeting? Do you want to do the comparison? And what will be the outcome? Then again, you can also assess your question to say that using what you call SPIDER, what is the sample? Phenomena of interest, what is your design? Evaluation, the research type. Then after this, we'll decide, we'll speak more about the designs, we'll speak more about how to evaluation research types. So, but what I'm saying is that whenever you think of your questions, you might think of the SPIDER, the PICO, and the FINER to say that, is it interesting? Who are your participants? And so on. So you can make a small table just to summarize, to give a snapshot of your research, to say that who is the group you are being studying? Who are your participants? What research method are you going to do the interviews? What is the outcome? Are you using a qualitative, quantitative, mixed method? So we'll discuss that later on. But what I'm saying is that whenever you have those research questions, or these SPIDER things can also help you to conceptualize your research questions or research aim. Then you decide who's your participant, will this be visible, those kind of things. So if you're able to answer those questions, then it will give you some directives if this is doable, is it worth doing, or should I think of changing some of the things to simplify so that it becomes visible or not, or something like that. So these are the things that you can also double check or check. Then before you fully commit to a research, you have decided your research questions, you have checked if FINER, PICO, and so on and so on and so on. Then before you can commit to say that I'm doing this research, you have to think about the impact. Who benefits from this research? What concrete changes could it create, this research? You also have to think about the feasibility. Do you have the necessary time and resources to do this research? Do you have the sufficient skills to carry out this research? If you're going to do a lab work, do you have the sufficient skills? If you're going to do the interviews, do you have sufficient skills to conduct the interviews? If you're going to do data analysis, do you have sufficient skills to run that data analysis? So you need to know your weaknesses and strengths, so that along the way, you know that I don't have a good strength in terms of doing interviews. Then you need to come up with a solution. How will I deal with that? Will I hire external company to conduct interviews on my behalf, or what? Or should I sort of like attend some workshops to upskill or to get those skills of conducting interviews? So you need to assess yourself in terms of feasibility. Then the ethics is participant protection insured. For instance, if you're dealing with a participant, are they insured? Then in terms of the data handling process, are they appropriate under the ethics? After collecting the data, will it be safe? Because some other data set is having our names, it's having our IDs. Will it be safe? How will you ensure that? How will you ensure that everyone is protected? How will you ensure that the data is safe? These are the things that you have to think about before you can commit to say that I'm doing this research. So this is what we call, is it sort of like SWOT analysis, weaknesses, strength, and so on. So you need to measure that before you commit to say that I'm committing to this research topic, and this is how I'm thinking I'm going to conduct this research. Before you can commit, check these things. Ask questions, ask yourself these questions and see if it's visible. Does your research have impact? Is it ethical? If there's a tick, 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 then you can commit to that research. I see that there's a hand here. Is that?
Yes, Dr. Mpekwane, it's Nomhle. My apologies. I don't know if it would be appropriate for me to add something. It's just that I realized when you were doing the PICO framework,
Yes.
I think 2, if not 3 years ago, there was a research course that I was attending. And with them, it went as far as including T and S. So it was PCOTS. So the T, timing of the actual research itself, and then the S would be the study design. So is it a random cross-sectional? Yeah, the PICO,
Yeah, I think it will have it's sort of like feasible. The timing.
Yes.
If you add the T there, it will be like feasibility.
Yes. Yeah. So the one that I have on my notes, it's a PICOTS. So PICOTS. So it's the timing, and then the last one would be the study design, whether random, randomized, controlled, cross-sectional, and whichever one. Yeah. So that was just my input. Thank you.
Yes. Thanks for that. So with the research is that, remember, each and every day there is add-on. So you also, that's why they say research always. It started with PICO. They saw that it's not complete. They've added the T and the S. Next year, they might add something because they're always researching to see the gaps, trying to close the gaps. So you can check, but these are the fundamentals. Because you are a researcher, as we're just saying, there's something called PICO. So whenever you do research, also in terms of come up with the research questions, think about PICO. Then you can go and read more about this PICO. You will see that there's new development where they've added the T and the S, or they've reduced some of the things, but these are just saying that there is something called PICO when you do your research questions. And again, there's something called SPIDER when you do your research questions. Then you will go and read more about the SPIDER if you think it speaks to your research. So if it doesn't speak to research, then you can forget about it. But if you feel like this speaks to my research, then you go and read more about the SPIDER. As we are saying that there is FINER, feasibility, interesting, novelty, ethical, and so on. Then there's PICO, which is patient intervention comparison, the outcome, and there's SPIDER, and so on. And what last thing I'm saying is that before you can commit to any research, Before you can commit to say that this is my final research topic, check the impact, check the feasibility, check the ethics. Those are very, very important. So if there's a tick, 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 then you can commit to that research topic. The problem is that if you don't tick these things, or if you don't ask yourself these kind of questions, you will stuck along the way. That's why most people, they drop out during their master's or their PhD. You find that things, that whatever they've written on the proposal, they figure out that we need 5 years to complete this. We cannot do this in a year or 2 years. But the proposal has been accepted. So changing that, it's sort of like you have to resubmit to ethics. You have to resubmit to you have to start afresh from department because you didn't check the feasibility. Always when you do your research title, research questions, you need to balance the two. You need a degree and you need to add novelty, bring novelty. So you need to balance the two. In most cases, when we develop a proposal, we always think about the novelty. Then we have high expectations. High expectations, it will need more resources, more time, more energy. So, but we need to strike the two. The timing, we need a degree. Then again, we need to contribute something. So whenever you think of your topic, strike the balance between the two. Don't focus on one angle whereby that is the contribution of the novelty. Say, I want to develop this, I want to solve you cannot solve all the problems, but you can solve a piece. In a pie, we have, I don't know how many pieces, but you can only bring one piece. Bring that one piece, that is enough. Other student will bring another piece. Other student will bring another piece. At the end, we'll have the whole pie. But just to say, I want to bring the entire pie, you might end up doing your PhD for 7 years or 8 years. But thinking of bringing only one piece, that's enough. You get your degree, then there's a contribution. Other people, they will contribute other pieces. Other students, they will contribute other pieces. Remember, at the end of your research, we have what you call future research. Future research, you are saying that I've stopped here, but other people, they can expand from here up to here. These are the possibilities of expansion. That's why at the end of the research, we have future research. So you are saying that I didn't contribute the whole pie. There's still opportunities to contribute in this field. These are the angles that one might think of tapping into. Any question, colleagues, regarding designing research objectives, research questions, and so on? I think that's what we have covered today. So in our next session, we'll just then move into research designs. What are the types of research designs? As long as now you can put those research questions, if they're clear, then it's going to be very easy to come up with research designs. But if the research questions are not clear, then we'll have problems with selecting appropriate research designs, because the research designs, they are somehow guided by the research questions. If there's problem with research questions, we'll select a wrong research design. So that's why it's very important to know how to come up with good research questions. If you have those good research questions, then we'll select a good research designs. Any question, colleagues, regarding what we have covered? Anyone to add, or question, or comment, or suggestions, colleagues? Questions, comments, suggestions, colleagues? Yes, Austin Tuli.
Hi, Doctor. It's a comment. Just wanted to say thank you, pay gratitude for your time, for your knowledge that you are sharing on this platform, and yeah, we look forward to doing better and eventually one of these days, walk down the red carpet. So thank you so much for the valuable information that you are imparting. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Ntuli, for the comments. Anyone, questions, suggestions, colleagues? Anyone who want to share their research objectives next week? Anyone willing to get free comments, free suggestions, free ideas? Anyone, 5 minutes next week, you share your research aim, research questions, then you also show how you use that triangulation thing or the matrix to develop your research objectives. It's only 2 slides.
Yes, I will, yes, Doctor.
Yeah.
Yes, I will do that. I will share with you next week.
All right.
Thanks.
Yes. Thanks for that. Only 2 slides. The title, research aim, research objectives, also that matrix. Link that matrix with your research objectives.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Sergio. So if there are no questions or comments, colleagues, we can call it a night. And those who are traveling, travel safe, enjoy the weekend. Take care, colleagues. It's rough out there. So enjoy the rest of the weekend. Be safe, colleagues, until we meet again. Thanks, colleagues. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. Good night.
Night.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Night.
Thank you.
Good
Thank you.
night.
Thank you.
Thank you.